guest says bringing the 9/11 suspects here to New York City to stand trial is possibly the worst decision ever made by any U.S. president.
New York Congressman Peter King joins us now from Washington, D.C. He's also a ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee. Peter, you're not one to duck a fight. Why wouldn't you want to fight these terrorists in the same place that they started it?
Because, Brian, this is a self-inflicted wound against us. What we have said now is that we're going to try these murderers in a civilian court, which means they can get access to our intelligence, they can get access to our sources and methods of operation. In addition to that, what we're saying is that we're no longer on a wartime footing against al-Qaeda, which means that, for instance, when we caught Khalid Sheikh Mohammed in 2003, the last thing we were thinking of was putting him on trial. The idea was to get all the information and intelligence out of him, to find out where al-Qaeda was going to attack next, where their operatives were located, what their methods were. Now we would have to, if we caught him tomorrow, someone like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, we'd have to read him his rights, get ready for trial. So what we're doing is we're treating this as a criminal justice matter. We've gone back to September 10th, 2001, and there's just no reason. We have military tribunals. That's what these people, it's all their titles, it's all they should get, and that would safeguard America, and it would also make sure that they got the justice they deserve.
I think what makes so many people nervous, aside from the pain and suffering that the 9/11 families would have to go through again, what makes people nervous, Congressman, is that because you did not read KSM his rights when you first brought him in, that a lot of the evidence gathered may be thrown out in a criminal trial as opposed to a military trial. And what I'm worried about, quite frankly, as opposed to the Attorney General being so confident that a conviction will be an automatic, I'm worried it won't be. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not automatic. I mean, odds are that he will be convicted of something. But, you know, in federal courts, it's the luck of the draw as to what judge you get. And the judge, you can get a very liberal judge. You can get a judge who is very slow. This trial could go on for years. And you could get a judge who would say, because he was arrested without a warrant, because he was not read his Miranda rights, because he's been held 7 years without a trial, all of this is a terrible injustice, and therefore I'm going to dismiss the charges. I doubt if any judge would do that, but it's going to make it more difficult to get the conviction. And what that could require is that the government would have to go into more accounts against him, which would open up more discovery for Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. So he would see, again, what our sources and methods are, which would happen. That's what happened in the 1993 First World Trade Center trial, which gave bin Laden a lot of information that he wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yeah, with Ramzi Youssef, when they say he's been jailed, but there was a problem. What happened along that way? Meanwhile, there's another major story in Fort Hood. Senator Schumer, another colleague of another political leader from New York, says, I think the big story is how Hassan got the gun. Why was he allowed to get a gun with the Joint Terrorism Task Force investigating him for possible terrorist ties? Do you think that's a head fake? Do you think that's something we should be focused on?
I think we should look at it. I really do, Brian, because, first of all, if you're on a terrorist watch list, you should not be able to buy a gun.
True.
Having said that, the real issue here is how this was how Major Hassan was able for years to be pro-jihad, who was able to be in contact with an enemy overseas. You know, I think, in fact, I was talking to Congressman Mark Kirk about this. Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, if you're an Army officer and you're in contact with the enemy, that can be treason. And yet nothing was done about this. He was allowed to remain an officer in the United States Army, even though he was pro-jihad, even though he was counseling troops against the war, and even though he was in contact with the enemy. This is unbelievable. That, to me, that is the real crime here, the political correctness.
Right, and the gun piece may be one part of the puzzle, but now the word this morning that he was signing some of his exchanges with military commanders as Allah, praise Allah, is also eye-opening. It seems like on every day we're finding out something new. Congressman
and again,
Peter King,
all this should have been known, yes.
Yep, all right. Thank you so much for joining us with your thoughts.
Gretchen, thank you. Thanks, Brian.
All right, thanks, Congressman. And now